Okay, so the first thing we need to do is click on the link for this assignment. We did this last class, so hopefully you already have the document. But you're going to click on the link here and then make a copy of this document. Make a copy. I kind of looked at we just looked at the brainstorming, and I might have gone over the vocab, so we didn't really start it. Yeah. So make a copy of that. So what this assignment's going to do is it's basically like a practice for what you'll do in your essay. So what was Unit 2 about? Unit 2, we started with looking at a Christian anthropology, and then we looked at the hierarchy of goods and like the levels of happiness. And the reason why we started with that is because since Catholic morality is teleological, in order to understand what will make us happy or what's good for us, we have to understand human nature. So now we've kind of switched from looking at secular ethical systems to laying the groundwork for a Catholic ethics. And when we try to understand human nature, that would be looking at like metaphysical claims. So we learned that Catholics believe that human beings aren't just animals, or animals that have a rational soul, and the rational soul has special powers, the intellect and the will. And because of that, human beings, in order to be fully happy, we need more than just goods of the body. We need more than just food and water, rest, and reproduction. We need things like music and love and justice and beauty. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at 2 TV commercials together, and we're going to apply the concepts we learned to those TV commercials. And then in your essays for the Unit 2 test, you're going to pick your own commercials and just one commercial and then do the same analysis. So that's what we're doing right now. So the first thing we have here is just some brainstorming. So what are some of the things that society says will make us happy? Yeah. Money, for sure. What else? Success. S-U. I'll spell that right, yeah. What else? Yeah. Whoops. Yeah, a lot of advertising is just selling us stuff. Materialistic things. Anything else? Other things you'd put? What were things that will kind of society says will make us happy? Yeah. And there are other things. I think that, you know, even though sometimes society focuses on things like money and success, I think we also get the message that we need love and friendship. Whoops. And other higher order goods. So what we're going to be looking at is kind of comparing and contrasting what like we see in TV commercials about what will make us happy compared with like a Catholic moral vision. So your vocab words are here. So first we have the good. So when we say something's good, what does that mean? It's conducive to well-being, to happiness, desirable. And here's the kind of the part that's sort of Catholic, is that things that are good are fitting to our nature. And things are better for us the more they fit our higher powers, our intellect, and our will. So that's the thing that kind of makes this idea, it's not just Catholic, it's a teleological thing. A good may be relative or absolute. So relative goods are conducive to well-being, to happiness, and they're sought to achieve a goal. So we had money on our list. Money would be a relative good. Or remember St. Thomas Aquinas, let's see, Thomas said it's a parent good. he said money was an apparent good because money is just a means to an end. So means to an end. That's what we mean by saying it's relative. So money is good insofar as it buys us something else. Like, and each one of us might want to buy different things. Like, you might want a Tesla. I drive a Honda Civic. Someone else might want a motorcycle. That's a relative good. Another example here is a farmer calls rain good because it waters his crops. However, if you're in Florida over the past week, you would probably call the rain bad because the hurricane destroyed people's property. An absolute good is the reality of completeness. And completeness is another way to understand telos. In the Bible, where Jesus says in Matthew 18, be perfect as my heavenly Father is perfect, the word there is actually telos in Greek. So telos means a completeness and a fullness, like you feel after you eat Thanksgiving dinner or something like that. I don't know. There's this sense of peace and fullness. So the reality of completeness according to the nature or design of a thing. It refers to certain objects in themselves without reference to something else. So, for example, a fruitful apple tree is a good tree. So that's when the tree has met its telos. So if we look at an apple tree and it has no apples, but compared with a tree that does have apples, we would say the tree with apples is better because it's met its telos. Okay, so the hierarchy of goods is a body of goods ranked one from another. In the context of Catholic morality, the goods of the soul are higher than the goods of the body. The goods of the body are those things which objectively lead to the thriving of the human body, such as nutritious food, water, exercise, adequate rest, hygiene, proper temperatures. And so the goods of the body are good for all animals, right? Or all living creatures. So, plants need sunlight and water. Animals need, depending on what kind of your animal, certain nutrition. But we're not just bodies, right? We have a rational soul. So the goods of the soul are the fulfillment of the powers of the soul by attaining the proper objects of intellect and will. So the goods of the intellect, what's the intellect? What's good for it? It wants to know the truth. So the intellect is ordered to know reality. It's fulfilled when it knows the objective truth. It can only be fully satisfied by perfect truth. And remember, whenever we talk about perfect truth or beauty or love or justice, those are the transcendentals, and that's what God's nature is. He is perfect truth. He is perfect justice. He is perfect being. And the goods of the will is ordered to the good itself. And it's only satisfied with the infinite good. That's why if we're just always chasing after materialistic things, those things will always fade away and decay. What we really long for is the infinite good. So those are the hierarchy of goods. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at 2 TV commercials. I chose 2 different ones because I think they represent kind of most TV commercials are either like this one or this one. So what we're going to do is you see this little chart. So we're going to watch the commercials and then we're going to analyze it together. So this is practice, just like if this were a geometry class. I would, put the equation for the area or whatever on the board, and then we do it together, and then you get a bunch of different practice problems. We're doing the same thing, but instead of using equations and numbers, we're using ideas, and we're applying them to the TV commercials. So we'll do these 2 together, and then you'll pick your own, and that's what your test will be on. So the first one's for the Peloton exercise bike. So for goods of the body, be looking for how does it appeal to the sense appetites using images, sounds, symbols to create desires. So our desires and our emotions, those we share with all animals. So what is it doing to kind of make us have an emotional attachment or desire for the object that they're selling? Goods of the soul. Another thing to look out for is, does it appeal to the goods of the soul at all? And is it providing the intellect with the true good? Or does the commercial distort the truth to lure the will to desire a lower good? And that might not make sense right now, but it will once we go through the analysis. And the thing is to think of, the commercials they're sort of like manipulative, right? They're trying to sell us something. So ask yourself, is what's being sold in the commercial actually like what I'm going to get if I buy this product? And then the levels of happiness. Which level of happiness does the commercial sell? Give evidence to support your claim. And identify any problems with the claims being made. So what we often see in commercials is, since we desire things like truth and justice and beauty, and more than we desire just material things, oftentimes they try to get us to associate whatever the product is with something really important to us, like love or beauty or justice. But if we buy that product, it's not going to fulfill those needs because it's just a material product. So we'll see how this goes in a minute. So, yeah, so the goal is like we're applying what we've learned about the levels of happiness, human nature. Okay, so, and it'll make more sense once I show you. But this is our first commercial for the Peloton exercise bike.
Hello, let's go for a ride on a Peloton. Let's go grab a couple thousand friends and chase each other up a hill. Let's go make a personal best, then beat it with your personal better than best. Let's go bring the world's best instructors right to you. Better yet, let's go bring the entire New York studio live. Let's go anytime, anywhere, with anyone who's willing. And let's go do it all right here. Ready to go? Peloton.
All right. Oh, I guess maybe I should have recorded another class too. I guess I stopped recording at some point. I must have accidentally hit it. So we've established that the people in the commercial are happy, they're smiling, they're fit, they look good, the music is upbeat. That helps to draw us in because it gives us, it evokes a happy emotion. So a happy emotion is going to endear us to that product. And that's like a good of the body. We also saw that they appealed to our desire for success and competition. They're selling the bike, but they're also selling us an image of what it looks like to be a person who rides a Peloton bike. I thought of something a second ago, and then I just forgot it. Another thing interesting that they talked about a lot in the commercial was friendship. They talked about, that you're going to ride this bike with thousands of friends, which I thought was interesting because they also talked about how it's convenient and you're going to do this all in your house. So there's this sort of juxtaposition that this bike is going to connect you with people, but you're also going to be alone. So you're connected and alone. And it's kind of a strange thing they're selling us with that. And at the end of the day, the Peloton bike itself, the product is a good of the body. And the reason it's a good of the body is because it will help you be healthy, presumably. If you actually use the thing, I would think. So that's the key with like the goods of the body. It's the bike itself is a good of the body. And one thing we can say just kind of in analyzing that is remember that St. Thomas Aquinas St. Thomas Aquinas said that health is what he called an apparent good. And what he meant by that is it's not the highest. It's not the ground of happiness. And the reason why he said that is because he's like, look, you can be healthy. Like, you can be those people on that Peloton. The Peloton people want us to think that if I buy that bike, I'm going to be happy like them. And I'm not saying they're bad for doing this. This is an advertiser's job. But the thing is, at the end of the day, that bike isn't going to bring you lasting happiness. And the reason for that is because we desire the goods of the soul. So the bike is merely a material good, but the goods of the soul are higher goods. And what's really interesting is in the commercial, they appeal to a good of the soul. One of the things they appeal to is friendship. Let's see. I don't know why that got so small. So think about friendship. F-R-I-E-N. So friendship, friendship is grounded in your will. Okay? So, and the reason why we say the friendship is grounded in the will is because the will gives you the power to love. So to love is to will the good of the other. So what does it mean to have a friend? It means that you're in a relationship with a person and you want the best for them. And so any appeals to friendship in the commercial, they're not just appealing, they're trying to get us to associate the bike with something so much more than what a bike can give you. The bike isn't going to give you friends, but they want us to associate it that way. So that was one of the things about the commercial that I found interesting is they talked about you're going to be riding this bike with thousands of friends, but you're really not. You don't even know the other people. Unless you actually have a friend who has a Peloton and you're in the same class together, we have to ask ourselves, is this true? Does the bike promote true, authentic friendship? And because they want us to see that association, because friendship is better than just being healthy, right? And they want us to see that association. But I think one of the things we learned from the pandemic is friendships that aren't in person aren't the same. And that's how Peloton became popular, was during the pandemic, right? So I think there's something interesting in looking at it through that lens. So for the levels of happiness, we would say that the bike itself would be level 1 because it's a material good. Ava also she pointed out the idea of success and competition. That would be level 2 because it's ego-centered and competitive. So the bike is a material good. We have the idea of competition, which brings it up to level 2. So they're trying to get us invested in the bike as more than just an object. They want us to, they're trying to draw in our competitive nature. And then when they bring in the friendship aspect, friendship is a level 3 good because it's when you do for others as others. So the point, they're trying to get us to see that the bike is going to help us make friends. It's not just good for looking good. You'll also feel successful. You'll have all these friends. So they're trying to get us to associate. They want us to associate a level 1 good with levels 2 and 3. And the question we have to kind of ask ourselves is this really true? Like, if I buy this bike, am I actually going to get what they're selling? And I think if we're honest with ourselves, we'd have to say, well, no, the bike's, and we're not saying the bike's bad or success is bad or like anything like that. What the point of the analysis is to try to get us to see that there's more to life than kind of just the happiness that John Stuart Mill proposed, right? It's not just hedonism. There's something more to us. We desire more. Does that make sense? And so the goal will be to choose a commercial where you can kind of show how this works. And it's important to choose a commercial that'll make it easy for you. Don't pick your favorite social issue and I'm going to do a commercial about my favorite social issue. Save that for second semester. You want to make it easy on yourself. So let's look at another commercial, though. It's a kind of a different type of commercial, because most commercials tend to either be like this one, and this one was kind of classic. One of the things that I kind of liked about it was in the commercial, you saw the bike a ton. And so I really knew what I was buying. I'm buying this bike. It's going to make me happy. It's going to make me fit. It's going to make me friendly. And it's kind of a classic TV commercial. But this commercial is different. So the second commercial is for a Tesla. So notice the different vibe. Notice the different emotions they're going to try to draw you in with. And notice kind of, ask yourself, like, what are they even selling me in this commercial? So this is a really neat commercial. So let's, yeah. Well, so you start, so how you know which is in which? So, you'd have to go back to the lesson on the 4 levels, but, each level is characterized by different goods. So the point of the levels of happiness is it's helping us to see that, like, there's all these good things, right? And we have to choose, like, what am I going to spend my time on? We only have so much time. We only have so much money. So with the levels of happiness, it starts with the first level, and the first level is called pleasure, and it's just the hedonistic principle. The first level is about getting all of your happiness and fulfillment just from material goods. So things like anything that involves your senses. So good food, exercise, goods of the body, exercise, sex, alcohol, entertainment, all the kind of low order goods. And the main characteristic of level 1 is immediate gratification. So like if I get on that exercise bike and I ride that bike for 20 minutes, my body's going to release endorphins. I'm going to be super happy for like 20 minutes. But once I get off the bike, I won't have that happiness anymore, right? So then level 2 is called the ego competitive level. So in level 2, it's where we find our happiness in our own success. But because it's driven by success, it's usually about comparing ourselves to others. And we saw that in the commercial. And they talked about getting your personal best, then breaking your personal best, and then competing against everybody else on the bike. And that brings longer satisfaction than just like eating a piece of tiramisu cake. But eventually someone's going to beat you. So the satisfaction level leads us ultimately the success comparative level leads us ultimately unsatisfied because there's always going to be somebody better than us. And it's always, in the first 2 levels, it's all about me. I want this food, or, I got into this college. It's very oriented towards yourself. But then when you get to level 3, remember level 3 was called the contributive level, or the level of self-gift. And level 3 is when you're doing good things for others. Whether you're doing a service project, whether you're a mom who's staying up all night with a crying baby so your husband can sleep, or, you're going to be a nurse to take care of sick people. It's where we get outside ourselves. And that's why friendship is a level 3 good. Because if you're a real friend, like you do good things for your friend because you love your friend herself. Not because she's going to give you something, right? That wouldn't be a good friend. So anytime we're involved in loving relationships, we've moved out of level 1 and 2. And then the final level, level 4, is the level of the transcendental. And that's where you're tapping into perfect truth or beauty or justice in and of itself. And we very rarely experience that. But I chose this particular commercial because I think we actually see it in this commercial. I think we see a level 4 good, which is rare because it's not something we experience often. So, does that help? Okay. So now let's take a look at this Tesla commercial. It's super interesting. So let's see what they've done here. see if I can do
I'm not where I'm supposed to.
Okay, and I'm still recording. Okay, so let me. All right. So the Tesla commercial is kind of a very different commercial, but it's, and if you look at if you think of a lot of your favorite commercials, like the ones that people always like during the Super Bowl, a lot of times they're like this Tesla commercial. So what are some of the things that you notice about the Tesla commercial? What kind of emotions does it elicit? One thing, I mean, the feel of it is very different. It's very dramatic. I think it's what are we doing here? Dramatic. It is very emotional. It really, like, it draws you in. It draws you in. There's kind of like a mystery to it. It's got this very intense music. And so somebody in the last class said it tells you a story, which I thought was a really good insight. That I wouldn't have said it that way, but that's exactly what it's doing. It's telling you this story about this man. You have two characters. So you have the man and his daughter, and it's about this birthday gift she gives her father. And what's really funny about this commercial is, for most of the commercial, you don't actually see the car. So the idea is, like, if you get this Tesla, it's going to make you into this person, or the whole reason she could sign with her daughter was because she had a car. She didn't have to have her hands on the steering wheel. So it's really getting us to associate the Tesla with really high order goods. So if we look at the commercial, it appeals to our emotions, some of our deepest, cherished emotions. So about loving family and sacrificing for family. But at the end of the day, the car, we would say, is a level 1 good because it's a material object. You could also say that it's level 2 if you say that the Tesla is a status symbol. So if you're buying, like, I'm not sure why my sister and my brother-in-law want a Tesla. It's probably because it's a status symbol, because that's super important to them. They don't care about the environment, so that's not why they're buying it. But in any case, you get this, the commercial is so dramatic, it really draws you in. But they're selling us a car. So there's something, like, interesting about the idea that it's just a car, but they've made such a dramatic commercial about it. So if we look at the goods of the soul we see in the commercial, that commercial is all about love, right? We saw the love of the daughter for her father. She went out of, for father. Like, she went out of her way to do that birthday thing where he's out in the desert, and he's got the big speakers because he's gone deaf. So there's the implication, that the car is somehow responsible for the great birthday gift, and that's what advertisers want us to associate. They're not. It's not even like, I had this kid at St. Anthony who was obsessed with this McDonald's commercial. I had him for morality, and he's like, Mrs. Reagan, isn't it a lie when McDonald's shows us those commercials of the hamburgers on the commercial, but then when you go and buy it, it doesn't look like that? And I'm like, well, Anthony, was it Anthony? Yeah, no. Anyway, in any case, Pacello was his last name? I don't know. I can see the kid's face right now. But I'm like, well, the whole point of the commercial is to make you want to buy it. And he's like, yeah, but it's a lie because I'm not getting what they're selling me. And that's kind of like, and he was like really obsessed with the fact that he thought it was a lie. But lies are really meant to distort the truth. What I think advertisers are doing is they're just trying to get us to make positive associations with a product. I don't know if I would call that lying. But we saw the love of the daughter for the father. And we saw, and this was what I thought was really, we also saw, hang on. So hang on, I'm trying to get this to line up right. We also saw the father, and his two main kind of characteristics that we saw in his memories were that he's a family man and that he loved music. And we saw all the sacrifices he kind of made for his family, and that's like level 3 there. But then with the music, the whole thing with the dramatic driving out to the desert and the big speakers was his memories came back to him of his life because of the music itself. And I think what the Tesla commercial shows is transcendental beauty. Transcendental, B-E-A-U-T-Y. So remember the transcendentals? These are perfect truth, beauty, goodness, or that's another word for love, and justice, and then being. So the transcendentals, they're actually what God is. Just by another name, God's nature is that he's perfect truth, perfect beauty, perfect goodness, perfect justice, perfect being. And for that man, I would say for him, music is a transcendental good. That it surpasses everything, because it was through the experience of feeling the music with the speakers that he was able to remember the love of his family, all of his concerts, and also the bad parts of losing his hearing. But notice, that's kind of crazy. It showed that there was both good and bad in the memories, and they were still treasured, because that's what virtue does. Virtue, true goodness, changes us. And so through his experience of music, the guy, the character in the commercial, was able to rise above even the loss of his hearing. Because he had tapped into music, for him, like it's like God. It's a transcendental good, and I thought that was really kind of an interesting way to sell us a car. So when we think of the levels of happiness, they appeal to levels 3 and 4. Wait, hang on. But the good being sold is level 1. So again, it's like the advertisers know that our human nature, like deep down inside, we know that the Tesla is just a car, but in order to make us want it more, they appeal to the higher order goods. They want us to associate their product with family, with transcendental beauty of music, with love, with sacrifice. And those are things a car can't give you, right? So what we're looking at here is kind of comparing and contrasting a Catholic vision of happiness and human nature compared with kind of what we're being sold in commercials. And what the commercials allow you to do is apply the concepts you've learned to something practical. Because that's what ethics is. It's a practical science. It's not like metaphysics. If this was a class on metaphysics, we would sit around and talk about things like, how do we know we're not in a simulation? Maybe we're just in someone's dream right now. Things like that. That would also be epistemology. The one thing that's metaphysical in this lesson, though, is the definition of human nature. That you're not just a body, that the Peloton bike isn't the only thing you need. You need things like music and love and family to be really happy. Does that make sense? We'll see. We'll see how you do. We'll see. So what I want to show you now is I'm going to hand out a piece of paper to you in a second. So the information for the writing prompt, if you go to the test review folder, everything's here. So here's the place where you turn it in. If you go to turn it in Friday and it gives you any trouble, just send me an email. This is the first time I'm using the Turn It In Dropbox, so hopefully it'll work. remember, I won't be here Thursday or Friday. So it would be good to start thinking about this before then, because I'll be on the retreat. So here's the prompt itself. So if we look at the prompt, it's basically what we just did. So the key to understanding what will make us happy is understanding human nature. By understanding what's good for a human, we can understand what will make us happy. Advertisers try to sell us happiness every day, but the question remains, is what they are promising true, and is it really good for us? So the objectives are to demonstrate your understanding of the vocab and concepts in Chapter 2, identify the various goods, the levels of happiness, and understanding of human nature used in the commercial, and analyze the truth claims of the commercial using the hierarchy of goods and principles of human nature. So first, choose a commercial from YouTube. I probably didn't put on, I don't know if I put on the thing that you need to include a link to the commercial, but please do that in case I need to watch the commercial myself to understand your analysis. And then this worksheet, I'm going to give you a hard copy of it. You don't have to turn this in. All it is it might help you as you're doing your analysis. So watch your commercial and look, what are the goods of the bodies? How does it appeal to your emotions and your senses? What are the goods of the intellect you see in the commercial? What levels of happiness are appealed to? And then finally, what are they selling? What is implied, or what is it promising? And is that really what you're going to get? So let's see, where was I? So the format is just going to be use regular MLA or Chicago, whatever your English teachers have you use that. It should be about 2 pages long, double spaced, please. And the objective is to demonstrate your ability to clearly explain and relate the concepts we've covered in the unit. Use the vocabulary and evidence to support your claims. The analysis should demonstrate mastery of the theological concepts you're analyzing or describing. Please use at least 5 vocab words, and if you could put them in bold or highlight or something, that would be excellent. And your analysis should be supported by examples and evidence. Be sure not only to give specific examples from the commercial to support your reasoning, but also draw from Unit 2 resources. So it's open notes. And so, for example, like if you were doing like the Peloton commercial, you might say, well, health is an apparent good according to St. Thomas Aquinas. It's good, but even if we're in good health, we might not be happy. So that would be appealing to other evidence. And this is just a big list of things you might try, you could include. So if you're like, I'm not sure what's human anthropology. So what does the commercial seem to say about human nature? How does it compare or contrast with the view of nature according to Christian anthropology? What are the goods of the body? Physical powers, our sense appetites, our passions. Passions are emotions. The goods of the soul are the intellect and the will. And then this is just other things you can think about. And then the Dropbox, the link is here. And it's going to be due October 7th at like midnight. If like you're still working on it and you're like, it's 2 a.m., it's not going to close. You can still upload your essay. If you're going on the retreat or if you're going out of town or something, quarter grades are due Tuesday. I'm going to try to get these graded in for quarter 1. So don't turn it in late. Otherwise, you're going to have this hole. So if you need to make anything up as you're getting toward the end of the quarter. So here's the rubric, which you can read through on your own. First, did you have good thesis and topic sentences? Because people who start with better thesis and topic sentences, everything they write's better. Did you use the vocabulary and did you use it well? Your evidence, did you use specific examples from the commercials? Your understanding of human nature, and then the understanding of the types of goods and the levels of happiness, and then writing. So that's the prompt. And again, what you'll do is just choose your own commercial and kind of do the same type of analysis we just did together in class. Ask yourself, what's the view of human nature in the commercial? What are they selling? Is that like a level 1 or 2 or 3 good? Usually commercials are selling us level 1 goods. They're selling us some kind of material item, but they want us to associate it with higher goods. Because advertisers actually understand human nature. They know we're made for more than just Teslas and Peloton bikes, and they want us to associate their bikes with higher order goods. Does that make sense? All right. So, any questions? Okay. So we have like 10 minutes, so maybe 10 or 15 minutes. So in the time we have remaining, you can start looking at commercials, thinking about commercials. Maybe think of your favorite commercial and analyze that. Like, you know, I've had students do everything from the old 80s Tootsie Pop commercials. Last time we did this, a lot of people did this commercial with this girl and this dog and a Chevy or something like that. A lot of people also did the Subaru. Subaru makes cute commercials. Their whole tagline is like, you know, about love. Oh, that's another thing we should know. Hang on. Remember, where was it? Let me put this in your notes. It's worth thinking about. Where is it? Oh, remember there was a tagline in the Tesla commercial that was really interesting. They said, feel it, believe it. And my whole question is, feel what, believe what? So, like, this whole idea is, what are we supposed to feel after watching the commercial? We're supposed to associate the car with the love of the daughter and the dad. But when it says, feel it, believe it, that I thought was fascinating, because they want us to believe something about the Tesla. And I think they want us to associate the Tesla with the same transcendental goodness and beauty that the man associated with music. I really think they want us to make that connection. And the Christian response would be that the Tesla's good. There's nothing wrong with having Teslas. But if you're seeking what that man felt with music, we would argue there's only one place that you can find that sense of happiness, and that's in God. And you don't have to believe that. Like, you can disagree. That's fine. But I think if you look at the commercial through that lens, I think it's actually kind of an interesting thing to note. Okay. All right. So I guess I'll turn that off.